Happiness is slippery. The moment we notice it, it's already dissolving. Think about it. The laughter of a night out, the thrill of opening a long-awaited package, the rush of hearing good news. Each feels radiant in the moment. Yet hours, sometimes minutes later, it's gone. It raises an unsettling question. If happiness keeps vanishing, was it ever real? We keep chasing it, yet it keeps running ahead. Like a mirage in the desert, clear until you reach for it. Why? What does this tell us about human nature? Stay with me, because the answer bends in directions you might not expect. This isn't a new frustration. Philosophers, psychologists, even poets have wrestled with this riddle for centuries. In this video, we will explore why happiness feels so fleeting, not through life hacks or motivational tips, but by looking at three powerful lenses: psychology, philosophy, and evolution. Each lens reveals something uncomfortable and fascinating about the way we're wired. And here's the twist. What feels like a curse might actually be part of the design. By the end, you will see happiness in a way that's harder, stranger, and far more interesting than we usually imagine. Psychologists have a name for one of the simplest reasons joy doesn't last: hedonic adaptation. It's the process by which new pleasures, no matter how intense, soon become ordinary. Picture it. You've just moved into your dream apartment. The view from the balcony makes you stop and stare every night. But weeks later, it's just the view, like wallpaper on your life. This isn't greed. It's the brain's thermostat resetting itself. Gains and upgrades melt into the background. Here is a vivid image. Happiness is like ink dropped into water. At first, it swells with color, but soon it spreads so thin the water looks clear again. There is even a thought experiment. Imagine one person wins the lottery, another suffers a terrible accident. A year later, both often return close to their old baseline of happiness. Not exactly the same, but disturbingly close. It feels cruel, doesn't it? Why can't joy stay full strength? Yet there is another side. The same fading that dulls our celebrations also softens our grief, a hidden symmetry. Still, one question remains. If joy always slides back to neutral, why do we keep chasing it? That's where philosophy enters the picture. If hedonic adaptation is real, then joy is built on quicksand. Think of birthdays. For a child, the cake, the candles, the gifts, everything feels magical. By adulthood, the same rituals feel routine. Not because the cake changed, but because we did. And vacations? The first night, the beach sunset steals your breath. By the fifth, you're scrolling your phone while the sky burns above you. Why do our brightest flames turn into embers so fast? The answer cuts deep. Our minds quietly normalize everything. It's a survival habit masquerading as disappointment. We rarely notice adaptation in the moment. Only when we look back do we see the glow has dimmed. That's why nostalgia feels sharp. It's the mind realizing how quickly the light went out. Maybe that's why people chase novelty so fiercely. The fading of joy is both a thief and a fuel. It pushes us to keep running. And the Stoics knew this long before psychology had a name for it. Centuries ago, the Stoics diagnosed the same problem. To them, joy tethered to external things was always fragile. Take Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor. He held power and wealth beyond imagination. Yet in his private reflections, he warned himself. Everything external fades, slips, and vanishes. The Stoics saw desire as a fire that never dies down. Feed it with one branch, it demands another. the banquet leaves you craving the next feast. Applause fades, and you long for a louder crowd. Here is a metaphor. Chasing happiness through desire is like trying to fill a leaky jar. No matter how much you pour in, it seeps out the bottom. Swap Roman banquets for Instagram likes, and suddenly the philosophy feels startlingly modern. And here's the hook. If adaptation explained how happiness fades, the Stoics tackled why. Because we're chasing the wrong things. But wait until we zoom out even further, to biology itself. That's when the story gets darker. Look at our world today. We live with more abundance than emperors, yet we're still restless. We scroll, each new post delivering a spark that dies before the next swipe. We binge shows that blur together because the satisfaction of one isn't enough. Even shopping has become a cycle. We crave the thrill of arrival, not the object itself. It's hedonic adaptation sped up to warp speed. The Stoics would see our culture and nod grimly. Desire without end, joy without permanence. But here's the strange relief. We're not broken. We're just acting out the same ancient script written into human nature. And to understand why the script was written this way, we have to go back further, to evolution itself. If psychology and philosophy weren't enough, biology adds a brutal twist. From an evolutionary perspective, fleeting happiness is not a flaw, it's a survival feature. Imagine an early hunter. He brings down a deer, feeds the tribe, and feels lasting joy for months. Sounds pleasant, right? But if joy lasted too long, he might lose the drive to hunt again. And in a world of famine, that complacency could be fatal. So nature engineered the satisfaction. Joy sparked briefly, then dimmed, nudging him forward. Each victory whispered, "Good, now move." Here is the image. Happiness was never meant to be a warm fire we sit by forever. It was a match struck in the dark, just enough to light the path ahead. And today, that ancient wiring hasn't left us. The marathon runner crosses the finish line, then immediately asks, "What's next?" The graduate celebrates, then feels the pressure of the next stage. Here's the cliffhanger. Evolution made happiness fleeting for survival. But in the modern world, that survival tool collides with abundance. And the result is both fascinating and troubling. And here is the irony. The same restlessness that saved our ancestors now loops us into exhaustion. We refresh inboxes, not to escape famine, but to satisfy a twitch in our nervous system. We chase dopamine like our ancestors chased deer. Our wiring can't tell the difference, and so abundance becomes a trap. The mechanism that once kept us alive now keeps us unsatisfied. That's why modern life feels like a feast that never fills. Endless stimulation, yet emptiness lurking under the noise. The fleetingness of joy isn't an error, it's our inheritance. And like any inheritance, it shapes us whether we want it or not. Still, let's not mistake this as only tragic, because fleeting joy carries its own beauty. Think of cherry blossoms. They bloom in firework bursts, precious because they vanish. If happiness were permanent, maybe we would stop noticing it. Maybe the very intensity of joy depends on the countdown clock ticking beneath it. Japanese aesthetics even have a name for this awareness: the gentle ache of impermanence, where beauty deepens because it cannot last. So yes, joy slips away, but in doing so, it sharpens the edges of memory. A spark in the dark matters because it doesn't linger. So let's tie the threads together. Psychology shows us adaptation. Joy fades because the mind resets. Philosophy shows us desire. Joy tied to externals that can't stay. Biology shows us survival. Joy was never meant to last. It was meant to push us forward. 3 angles, 1 paradox. We ache for lasting happiness, yet we're built to lose it. It's like chasing the horizon. The closer we walk, the further it stretches. Not because the horizon is fake, but because it was never meant to be reached. Maybe happiness works the same way. Not a destination, but a shimmer on the road. Not something to own, but something that lures us onward. At the start we asked, if happiness disappears the moment we touch it, was it ever real? The answer is stranger than yes or no. Happiness is real, intensely so, but only in flashes. It exists like lighting in a storm, brilliant, fleeting, and impossible to hold. And maybe that's the point. Its impermanence doesn't make it less real, it makes it human. Look back at your life. What lingers isn't some endless stretch of joy. It's sparks, laughter, or brief arrivals. The kind of memories that glow brighter because they didn't last. Happiness is real precisely because it vanishes. So perhaps the mystery isn't why happiness slips away. The mystery is that it appears at all. Maybe our nature isn't to keep it, but to glimpse it, to touch it, lose it, and still reach again. Happiness feels fleeting because it is, and that is exactly what makes it ours.